Hi guys, this is part 2 in how come when I go to center, it doesn't always feel like bliss. So I've been getting lots of feedback about sometimes how kind of gnarly painful it is to actually move to the center of your being, start to move from your center place, and all of that old wounding and all of that kind of repressed and buried pain rises to the surface. That in fact, it's not easy and it takes a lot of courage to willingly allow it to arise, allow it to have its healing time, allow awareness and presence to receive it. And so I want to talk a little bit about the amazing grace that's waiting for you on the other side when you're willing to do that. Because a lot of what I'm talking about is about how to heal that pain, how to bring just the light of your own awareness to whatever's arising and allowing it to arise. And in that, a healing and transformation can occur, but I never really talk a lot about what that transformation is. And so I want to just give you some tools about that so that you have the courage to keep going and doing this really good work, particularly when you get to some of those really deep, dark, gnarly knots that are, as one person beautifully put, screaming and raging and yelling, and it can be really, really intense. So the beauty of allowing your wounds to get healed, to be transformed through the light of your own awareness, is that it echoes a peace across so many layers of your life. And basically, you've been carrying these particularly owie, gnarly knots of pain most of your life. And when you allow them to arise, when you're have the clarity of mind to just bring awareness and they transform and heal, what happens is ways that you responded to your life or to situations that were causing you to suffer, and in fact were rather unconscious patterns, dissolve completely. So you're in there doing the gnarly work and it's a few days of really grisly, maybe you're crying your eyes out for a couple of days, whatever it is that allows that pain to move and to heal. Suddenly, a situation arises. I don't know if it's just going to visit your folks, and usually every time you visit your folks, you and your dad get in a crazy kind of fight because your dad always says this and it triggers you. And suddenly your dad says this and there's no trigger. And there's nothing conscious on your part. There's just no trigger. It's just absolutely gone. And you suddenly realize that, the next day you're at the coffee joint and somebody says something that usually always triggers you. There's no trigger. There's zero response. It allows you to maintain the equanimity of your being. It allows you to maintain your peace because you haven't, you don't have that knot of pain that's been distracting you away, but you didn't even know that it was doing that. It was just so compulsive and so habitual a response in your life. So it's a way that, like, you spend 2 days in bed crying because you finally allowed yourself to go into your heart, and then suddenly the pain that's been hiding out in there arises. Just your awareness, just your willingness to say yes and let it arise begins to transform it and heal it. But of course, as you experience, it gets really hot beforehand and it gets really strong and really loud. But you allow it, you welcome it, you recognize there's space, there's time. I've spent my whole life denying it, and today is the day that it is allowed to simply be here. I am simply embodying the peace and the love that I am and welcoming whatever arises. And this is what's arising. And suddenly, after a few days of the storm that brews, in the peace of the storm, your life is very different. And at first, it looks like these small habitual patterns that used to cause you to go into angst, regardless of your mindfulness practice, regardless of the times that you've tried to practice law of attraction and manipulate your experiences. Suddenly, they really are gone. They just aren't even arising. They're completely gone. And also scenarios and situations now arise in your life that are deeply aligned with your highest and most fulfilling desires, your delicious, delicious yumminesses, that you worked your ass off for years trying to have those opportunities unfold, and they never would. They never would. And suddenly you're just reading the paper, and these opportunities are like rolling up in your doorstep. They're like showing up in your email box. They're like shining around you. And it's because the karmic pattern, I like to use that word, but it's that wound inside of you has dissolved. That wound was eclipsing all of the peace of your being and all of the opportunity that peace mirrors, and all of the equanimity and ease and grace of your birthright, of your natural being, that was completely eclipsed through all this woundedness. So I just wanted to point out to you, it's worth the work. That no matter how gnarly and hairy and dark that work gets, it's worth it. And I'm really hearing this in our group sessions. For those of you that don't know, go to the blog, go to the website. You'll see we do group sessions once a week. People check in and we get to work with each other. But I'm hearing again and again things like, suddenly these right work opportunities or these right money opportunities are coming into my life. And we're not doing this to fulfill some kind of law of attraction. We're doing this work because, in fact, your birthright is that peace. Your birthright is that equanimity. That's what's here. That's the default. That's the source of everything. But eclipsing it is all of this subconscious wounding. And it prevents you from accessing it, and it prevents you from embodying it and maintaining it. So by cleaning house, doing the work that is required, you're finding yourself much more deeper in alignment with that. And I'm hearing it again and again and again in the weekly sessions. And so you just got to do it once or twice, and the peace that begins to echo across so many areas of your life, from meeting with your folks to a fight with your lover where you just absolutely didn't react anymore, to button pushing from your kids that doesn't even push any buttons anymore, to easier relationships with your coworkers, to opportunities that you have always dreamed about but couldn't quite get activated behind, showing up on your doorstep. This is the kind of external motivators that give you the courage to go lay down for a couple of days and cry your eyes out and deal with that heartbreak when you were 16, or deal with that really traumatic event that occurred when you were 4 or 5, or to deal with that post-traumatic stress disorder that, God, 99% of the world is carrying around, but to begin to unwind it. And so part 1 was, the unwinding process and knowing what meets there. But this is part 2, is just the inspiration to keep going, keep going. It's really good work, and you're going to notice it. And 2 or 3 times of dissolving one of those gnarly pains and recognizing the peace that just begins to echo through every part of your life will give you the courage. But if you haven't started experiencing that peace yet, if you haven't started to notice the whole world is different because you're different, then this is your reminder to do that work, to do the good world work. Because I know it can be really kind of gnarly, and it can be really kind of nasty. And we definitely live in a world that has been conditioned to avoiding that pain, that we have been deeply, deeply wired to run from this pain, which is why it's repressed, which is why it's deeply in the body. But it hasn't gone anywhere. It's affecting every part of your life still. And so by taking the courage and taking the time to actually sit there, and that's because you're actually taking the time to embrace stillness and to come into your heart and move from your heart, begins that whole process. So this is just a little pep talk to remind you of what's waiting for you on the other side, and to say, keep coming. Keep coming. It's really, really good work, and I'm so proud of you guys for doing it. And it makes such a difference in your life and the life of everyone else. So if you need a hand with it, come and join us in the group sessions. There's still room. There's private sessions available. I have lots of events, speaking events and day-longs, and I'm happy to give you a hand through how to begin that process, or how to move through that process, or just help you on the way through it. But this is the work we all got to do now. We got to start to clean up the place. And it starts here. It starts here. Cleaning up this beautiful place. So as always, so much love to you guys. So much love. So much love. Enjoy.